On this Ask Katrina, the question is, hey, Katrina, sometimes I put in the extra hours because I think I want things just right. I want things just right. Is that something that I need to be worried about? Or should I just move on? Huh, that's a great question. We get some amazing questions here. We get some really hard questions. We get some questions that we all think are probably pretty basic, right? When you heard that question, you're probably like, well, you probably just need to move on. You need to stop wasting time. That's an easy answer to give, right? We can point to someone else and say, hey, what are you doing? You're wasting time. Let's go. But it's not so easy whenever we have to look within ourselves. And so what I want you to do is I'm going to give you some answers. I'm going to answer this question fundamentally. But as I do it, I want you to look within yourself and identify if this is you doing some of this as well. The woman that asked this question, I thank you because you're courageous for asking the question that the bulk of us are dealing with, but don't ask because we think we're not dealing with it. So congratulations on you actually admitting where you are in your growth. It's tremendous. So congratulations and thank you for that. So here's the answer. We, and most women do this, this is actually one of the things that hold us back in our careers. We want things to be just right, right? Our handwriting is perfect. And we used to draw little hearts when we were little girls and they would be perfect. And we'd erase it until we got it just right. And maybe when you were a kid that you would draw and you would be very artistic and now you don't do that anymore because you couldn't get it just right a couple of times. You're like, forget it. If I can't get it perfect, I'm not going to waste my time with it. And then we convinced ourselves that, you know what? If I can't do things just right, I don't need to worry with it. I only have so many hours in the day. And so I need to focus on my strengths. That's what we told ourselves, right? I'm just going to focus on my strengths. Now, I'm not going to argue with that. I agree with that fundamentally. I don't call it strengths, though. I call it gifts because we all have gifts. We all have gifts and talents that are inherently within us. And those gifts get honed. How do they get honed? Because we keep using them, right? We keep going out there and we keep using the gifts and we keep getting better and better at sharing the gifts that we have within us. And when you're like, okay, Katrina, you talk a lot about gifts. What are those? I'm just talking about the ability to connect with somebody. That could be a gift. The ability to stand up in a meeting and influence other people. The ability to see through the matrix and see numbers and see strategy in a way that other people can't, right? All of those are examples of professional gifts. You have professional ones and personal gifts. We all have them, okay? But that's an example of gifts. Now, what we've done is we said we're going to focus on our strengths. Again, I call them gifts, but that's a double-edged sword because yes, you should focus on your gifts. But what if your gift was the gift of drawing or being artistic or expressing yourself in some capacity? And you're actually not using that gift because you don't think it's perfect. You're not allowing yourself to hone the gift. What about that? Ask yourself if maybe that's a possibility. May not be, but you gotta ask. The other thing that happens whenever we hold ourselves back from turning in an assignment or, and I say assignment, I'm talking about like a project. I just went back to school there for a second thinking about drawing little hearts. But when we turn in details about a project or there was a situation that happened on your team and you need to share the update with your supervisor or whomever, right? Whenever we're trying to provide updates, maybe you're the one that reads the email like 15 times. And then you have someone else read it. And then, you got to have all this input and it's just an email and it would have taken you 5 minutes to send a quick summary, but you're going to spend 3 hours on it because it's got to be perfect. And then the next thing that we do is we convince ourselves that our brand is a brand of perfection. And so therefore we've got to be very careful because if we don't have things just so, then we're going to damage our brand. I know all the stories. I've worked through a few of them. Okay. And I've worked through a lot of them with women just like you. The point here is we tend to use the fact that that's a weakness or I got to get it just right because it's my brand. We use these terms that fit into the professional world as a justifiable reason for focusing on perfection. Well, what I want to tell you, and it's something that Tony Robbins says all the time, is that perfection is the lowest standard. It's the lowest standard because it doesn't exist. Perfect doesn't exist. And so you're striving for something that you will never be able to attain. And so you're wasting time. You're working odd hours. You're spending all this time putting in all this effort on things that you think have to be perfect and no one else cares but you. which means you're spending time focusing on perfection instead of focusing on adding value to the organization. Because the organization didn't ask for perfect. You asked for perfect. You asked for perfect because you think that you must deliver perfection or you're going to damage yourself or you're not going to be seen, appropriately. And again, it's going to damage your brand. I promise you that people know you're human and it's okay. I promise you that I've gotten a ton of emails throughout my career that were completely imperfect. And it's okay because I just appreciated the fact that they were getting me the information as quickly as possible. It didn't mean that they didn't have intelligence. It didn't mean that they didn't care. It didn't mean any of that to me. It just meant, and they would even sometimes put at the beginning of the email, hey, I'm writing this out really quickly. I'll get you some additional details if you need it, but speed I knew was important to you. So here it is. Boom, right? Give yourself permission to just show up and deliver. Give yourself permission to do that. You're ready for it. You don't have to worry about being perfect. A lot of women do that. Not only do we say, well, it's not my strength, I'm just not going to touch it, I'm not going to focus on it, or I've got to have it perfect, or it's my brand. The other thing that we do is we say, well, I can't step into that role until I've got all the things I need, right? How many times have we done that? I can't use my voice. I can't speak up. I can't fill the seat at the table that I've been given because I'm not ready yet. I haven't earned it, right? We talk about that a lot. You've earned it. They gave it to you because you earned it. Your seat at the table doesn't say, well, you get to have this as soon as. No, it was yours. Promotion equals seat. Right? I don't want you to confuse the concept of executing correctly with the desire to have it perfect. You can't. Let me give you another one. Done is better than perfect, right? Done is better than perfect. Sometimes we just got to get things done. Recognize that. Don't take up your time and your mental energy and all of these things that are going to distract you from adding value and executing correctly because of your desire for perfection. No one's holding you to that standard but you. So give yourself some grace. That's how you move through this.